rose to 2,094 by the end of March 22. I'd like to be heard, please. According to Birmingham's Children's Trust, care population rose to 2,094 by the end of March 22, representing a rate of 72 per 10,000 young people. The Trust in the annual report 21-22 further expects this to increase to 2,171 by March 23, a rate of 73 per 10,000 young people. The Department of Education produced year-on-year statistics which show within the city, 16% of care leavers aged between 17 and 18 in 2020 and 21 were tagged as being in education or employment, with 24% of 19 to 21-year-old care leavers also identified in this category during the same period. This is good news story for the City Lord Mayor and shows 1 in 4 care leavers are in employment or further education and are working hard to improve their lives after a difficult start. However, Lord Mayor, there is a disparity of care leavers in the city who are not in education or employment. The Department of Education has further reported that of 17 to 18-year-olds, 36% were not in education or employment during 2020 and 21, with the percentage reducing by just 1% during 21 and 22 to 35%. For the 19 and 21 age range, during both 2020 and 21 and 21 too, the percentages were static at 34%. This is over 30% of our young people with very little prospect or life chances. And this is why we bring this motion before you today. We want to help support these young people with expenses such as travel and medical costs, which will go towards removing some of the barriers they experience trying to access the further training and employment opportunities afforded to others. We want care leavers to be reassured no one in this city is left behind and that they have equal access to the same breaks in order to better themselves. Although care leavers have access to benefits and other forms of support, the cost of living crisis is proving to be hard for this group, as it is the stigma of being a care leaver, which is hard enough for a young person to deal with. The young person could have lived with foster parents, residential children's home, or in a residential setting. They could have been placed in care for a number of complex reasons, and such as we are all aware, children in care, and care leavers in particular, are the most vulnerable group. They may have experienced abuse, neglect, and trauma, which led to significant emotional, behavioural, and mental health needs, putting them at further risk of grooming or exploitation. Care placements affect not only young people's relationships with friends and family, but they're also wider relationships. The experiences both before and during care put them at greater risk of poor mental health, and that's why it's vitally important this group of people have access to mental health support, which has a distinct focus on trauma and past harm. I know of a young person, Emily, who turned 18 in November. She has half a brother who is 6 and who she has not seen him for 4 years. He doesn't know her. Emily's estranged father is an alcoholic, and her mother raised her until she was 14 when alcohol overtook her life. Her mom lost her job and became abusive. After a brief stint living with her mom's boyfriend, who was physically abusive, heroin addict, Emily's school arranged emergency foster care for her at her family but cramped house in Lichfield. At 15, Emily's boyfriend took pity on her, and she moved into the house. But when she separated from him 2 years later, Emily was asked to find somewhere else to live. At 17, a friend talked to her parents into moving Emily in. The parents took no money from Emily and paid for her living expenses and even covered her driving lessons, but now the novelty has worn off. Her friend wants her gone, and the family are torn as their child has moved into her boyfriend's house and will not return until Emily has moved out. Knowing that Emily has exams this summer, the family have said she has a home with us until then, but after that she will need to find somewhere else. Emily has spoken to the council, who have said that she would need to be street homeless to get a council property. Private landlords say that at her age she will need a guarantor, and even if she did find someone, she couldn't afford the private rent. Her best friend said that she can't rent somewhere together because Emily's frightened to do that just in case they fall out. She's scared of losing her. Emily's mother is currently living in a hostel, having been severely beaten by a partner. Emily speaks to her occasionally. Emily's mother is schizophrenic, and Emily often has to go along with her mom's alternative reality so as not to confuse or frighten her. But all of this Emily has ambition. She wants to go to university and train to become a children's nurse so she can use her experiences and care for other children just like her. Right now, as we meet here, Emily's worrying about where will she live, how will she pay her bills, whether she can go to university, and ultimately, how will she cope? There are hundreds of young children and young people like Emily. We can help her and other people like her by taking action today to make transport free up to the age of 25 for her and other caregivers. I propose this motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Deborah Harries to second.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I rise to second the motion tabled in my name and that of Councillor Jan. The disadvantages faced by those who have experienced the care system should be the civil rights issue of our time, according to the Independent Review of Children's Social Care, commissioned by the Government and published last May. The McAllister report also suggests the UK should be the first country in the world to recognise the care experience as a legally protected characteristic in equalities legislation.